him. He was literally one of the only videos, I think, that I didn't have one dislike. So he's back. How are you doing today? And we have, sorry, I'm still trying to sign in. That's why I'm just a second, because I'm trying to do things all at once here. All right, let me get on my page. Sorry, guys. What a wonderful intro, right? And we're just going to stop. Right.
It's really good to be back here, Heidi. I had such a fun time working with you on astrocartography and now doing some gem therapy discussion, and met a lot of really nice people from your community that have reached out with interest in Jyotish, with interest in astrocartography. And I feel really grateful to be a part of the community and all of the consciousness awakening that you're doing for your community.
Well, thank you so much. So I'm going to post all of your info. I mean, we have Kṣaṇāti. Oh, I can't even say it right now. Right. I'm just a little taken back. So we have a wonderful guest here, and he is a famous Vedic astrologer. He has been all over astrology. Oh my gosh, what is wrong with me today? Oh, sorry guys. I've been in the car for an hour. It's been a rough day, really rough day. All right. So we're going to talk about gemstones, and why don't we get moving? So go ahead. Oh my God. I just have to stop right now. I have too many planets conjunct, I think, and too many transits going on.
Yeah, well, I can relate to that as well. When we're looking at Vedic gem therapy, I thought it would be perfect to discuss it with you because there's so much open-mindedness on your channel, and there's lots of different theories as far as the traditional Vedic gem therapy, as far as when is appropriate to wear certain gems and what are the effects of certain gems. Now, there's one of the traditional theories about gem therapy is that whenever we wear the gemstone of a planet that is associated with the planet, based on the ancient text, it increases the power of that planet in our life. Okay, so that's one theory, that we're not talking about if it's a beneficial effect or if it's a not beneficial effect. That one of the theories is that just by wearing the gemstone, you increase the power of that planet in your chart. So if that planet is acting benefic in your chart, it would increase the benefic qualities of that planet. But if that planet is having a malefic or challenging influence in your chart, you wouldn't necessarily want to wear that gemstone, even if it was a weak planet, based on that theory, because that theory might increase the malefic effect. In other words, one of the theories says that you don't really wear Saturn's gemstones. If Saturn causes lots of delays in your life, setbacks, for example, the main channel and things like that, there you have Saturn in the 12th house, it's exalted, conjunct with Pluto, so there's a really strong Saturn vibration there. But basically, if you were to wear the Saturn gemstone, there's one gem of thought that said that would actually intensify the delays. Now, this isn't the theory which I believe in, but a lot of traditional Jyotish Vedic astrologers, they shy away from gem prescription. They shy away from gem therapy in general because of this old way of thinking, I believe, which is that whenever you wear a gemstone, it just increases the power of that planet. So you have to be really careful. Now, another theory, which is Dr. Vasant Lad, he's one of the originators of Ayurveda here in the West from Pune, India. And I was in one of his lectures, and the way he explained gem therapy from a medical perspective, from an Ayurvedic perspective, is that a planet is always giving off its light. A planet is always giving off of its prana. For example, whenever a planet is transiting our ascendant or first house, we're getting a boom of that planet's energy on our physical body. So if there's a specific transit which is in our first house, that's going to influence our body. That's going to influence our well-being. And basically, the energy from the planet or the prana is being shot down over you when it's in your Mahadasha, when it's in your sub-period, when it's transiting your first house. And what, according to Dr. Lad, what the gems do is they block the negative energy of that planet from influencing your body in a negative way. So if you weren't wearing a blue sapphire and Saturn is transiting your ascendant on your Saturn return, you're going to be horribly vata vitiated, which means you're going to be anxious, you're going to be nervous, you're going to be exhausted, you're going to be sad. But let's say you wear the blue sapphire gemstone, which is the primary gemstone for Saturn based on the traditional Vedic method.
I got a story. Sorry, go ahead. Keep going.
Well, according to Dr. Ladd's theory, that blue sapphire that you wear, if you wear it on the proper finger in the proper in the proper metal, and we can go over what those are, it takes the negative energy from that planet and it's attracted to the gem. In other words, basically the gemstone contains the similar frequency as the planet. So the planet's energy is attracted to the gemstone. And so it's like a vessel. It's like a vehicle in which the gemstone energy is now being stored within the gemstone versus being influenced over your entire body or over your entire aura or over your entire energy field. So this is one of the theories that has always resonated with me, probably because I studied with Dr. Vasant Lad for many years. And so I believe that the gemstones are like vehicles or vessels for that planet's energy for when it's sent down to us over our charts.
Okay, so hypothetical. So it's so weird you said that because literally, okay, first of all, you know, per Western astrology, I was a Virgo, per Western, my sun sign. And we all know that that's a lot different than, well, if you watch my channel, you know, I do Vedic astrology. It's a lot different. So in your ascendant, I think just as important as your moon sign, sun sign is sometimes the least of importance. So when somebody sent me a sapphire, okay, I'm not joking, a necklace, a 3-tiered like sapphire necklace, right? And it's funny. Isn't that crazy though? So this was like last
Was it a blue sapphire?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
And that's my gemstone for like Virgo, you know, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Would you say that's a horrible thing to wear right now because of what's going on in my chart?
Well, it actually would probably never be recommended for you as a gemstone.
Yeah.
Because usually planets which are in Dracana houses, which are considered malefic houses, mainly the 8th and the 12th house,
Right.
when we have planets in there, we don't usually recommend gemstones for planets in those houses. But again, going back to the different theories, that's because they believe it empowers the energy of that planet. So you would be getting more of a 12th house effect. But I think that what you wouldn't want, you know, you definitely wouldn't want.
I don't need any more 12
However, the other theory is that the gemstone protects you from the negative energies of that planet. And I'm more optimistic and idealistic in that sense. But here's the thing. In traditional Vedic gemstone, the way that they make the ring, the gemstone has to touch the finger. Okay, it's traditionally made where the gemstone touches the finger. So if you take a look at this green tourmaline I have here, on the other side, it kind of comes through there. And also I have an amethyst here, which as you can see, it comes through on the other side. So it's kind of rubbing up against my finger there. Now, that means that the energy which is being taken from that planet and stored in the gemstone is then being processed in some way inside the gemstone and then going back into your body. So basically, the gemstone is like a filter, which takes the negative effect from that planet and filters it into a more powerful, but in the long run, it increases your karmic relationship with that planet. So it improves your relationship with that planet. Now, if you have a really challenging karma with a certain planet, Heidi, is it okay if we talk about your chart for a little bit?
You know it. I love that. That's my favorite thing to do.
So you're currently in your Venus Mahadasha, which started in July 2000 and ends in July 2020. Then you'll go into your Sun Dasha. And by the way, your Sun's in a Mula Trikona, so it's in a very powerful position. So I'm excited to see all the fame and success that will come for you during your Sun Mahadasha. But when we're looking at the Venus Mahadasha for you, we're looking at the Venus in Virgo. And like you said, in the Western sign, you have some Virgo. And when you're looking at the Jyotish, there's some Virgo too. And we're looking at the Venus connection to Virgo. The unique thing about the Venus connection to Virgo is that Venus is a debilitation in Virgo, which means it loses some strength and it can cause some inauspicious or malefic effect. So Venus is the Lord of romantic love. It's also the Lord of marriage. So often when there's a debilitation of Venus in the chart, in one form or another, it's going to cause some challenges in the relationship. It's going to cause some challenges. Usually the debilitation Venus energy, it's more than one marriage. And sometimes it's people that don't necessarily choose traditional marriage because it's not what supports them. Kind of alternative approaches to soulmate relationship and things like that. But
Yeah.
you're in Venus Mahadasha, and so there's a great question. Would wearing a Venus gemstone, how would that affect you? And what type of Venus gemstone would be the most beneficial for you? Now, the thing about the Venus gemstone is it's debilitated. So as soon as you start to wear that Venus gemstone, it's going to bring up all of that karma with Venus, which is challenging.
Yeah.
But
I'll pass. But let's talk about it.
If you were, let's say, if in your heart and soul, you really did want to get married, and you really wanted to get married as soon as possible,
Mm-hmm.
and you wanted to bring that person, magnet that person towards you, then you would start doing heavy Venus traditional remedy. So it's only, so if I was to do the gem therapy with you, we would go into a discussion during the reading. How do you, how much are you interested right now in a long-term monogamous relationship with the potential for marriage? If you said that you were really into that, then I would recommend the Venus gemstone for you. But if that was something you were not seeking, you certainly wouldn't wear that gemstone because it's going to bring that soulmate energy to you. It's going to bring that partnership energy to you. Speaking of which, diamonds are Venus's best friend. Diamonds are a girl's best friend, and diamonds are the primary gemstone for Venus.
Okay, that's a very interesting. Let's talk about that. Okay, so when I was married, I had a big rock, which I sold, and I'm telling you, the day I had that thing, things were just a mess. Like I've been married, I've been engaged once, left him, married once, left him. So anytime diamonds are involved, and it's funny because after I got divorced, I said, I am never wearing a wedding ring like with diamonds in it ever again. I don't wear jewelry anymore. Like if you notice, everything I do is like no jewelry whatsoever because and this was before I knew anything about astrology. But that just shows that.
It makes perfect sense, and it has to do with this. Also, you have the South Node K2 in your Lugna, and that's the Moksha Karaka. So when the Venus vibration, which has to do with romantic attachment, and K2 and Venus are enemies. K2 and Venus do not get along. So in a way, it's not really your dharma to be too attached. I'm sure you realize that. You're not supposed to be too attached to any one person. Maybe it would prevent you in the getting of the way of doing what you need to do here in this lifetime. But basically with that Venus vibration, the gemstone for Venus, it would activate that karma, which eventually, the karma with Venus has to do with marriage and all of these things like that. So by wearing that gemstone, you're activating that debilitation. Now, of course, it's going to bring up the challenges, but it also shows that by wearing that gemstone, it prioritizes that aspect of your life. It's almost like it brings your energy to it. So, before, of course, it's symbolic and everything, but when you were wearing that diamond on your finger every day, that automatically in your auric energy prioritizes marriage. It's like one of the main karmas in your life. Now, if that's what the vibe that you're going for, whoop-de-doo. But if it's not the vibe that you're going for, then you certainly wouldn't recommend. So traditionally, with great caution, we recommend gemstones for debilitated planets. Because what it does is it brings up that debilitated karma. It brings up that challenging karma. But again, if it was something you really wanted to work on, then there would be nothing better that you could do than to, wear the gemstone and be in that committed relationship. But it's going to bring up all of the same challenges. So it's almost like
it's a catch-22.
Exactly. It's like the planet is the gemstone is the vessel for that planet's energy, which means even though it's getting filtered out in a more positive way, you're still getting a huge amount of that energy being attracted to you. The bigger the diamond, the more Venus energy is being attracted to you.
Yeah.
The bigger the blue sapphire you wear, the more the Saturn energy is attracted to you. Now, a couple other points that are very important to know for the Vedic gem therapy is that the gems always have to be flawless, because it says in the ancient text, if the gems aren't of the highest quality, if there are scratches, nicks and cuts like that, it increases the negative effect of that planet and increases no auspicious or beneficial effects. So, everyone is very into wearing the raw gemstones, but the raw gemstones are totally cracked and nicked and everything. So you're always, how like with Western pharmaceuticals, they're like, this is beneficial for this thing, but the side, but the side effect is that you might die.
Yeah. So true. Yeah. So it's like the same thing. Wow.
So raw gemstones, there's no better gemstone for increasing the overall power of the planet, but you're getting a ton of side effects, a ton of hangover. There's going to be some side effects. When a gem is flawless, said to be no nicks, cuts, scratches, or anything, even under a microscope, then it is said to only carry an auspicious effect for that planet, which means it's only providing a medicinal aspect.
Got it. So would you say that, so where do you get your gemstones then?
So for all of my clients, I do a gem importing service, because basically based on the ancient text, a gem has to come from a certain country to be of the highest quality. And each gem has a different country that it's supposed to come from, and it has to be unheated, and it has to be untreated, and it has to be flawless. And there's a lot of gemstone salesmen out there that want to give you not either fake gems. So all of the gems I get they're sent to a laboratory to be tested, make sure they're not heated, treated, that they're flawless under the microscope, because there's a lot of deception as far as gemstones and people just trying to make an extra dollar. So it's important that I think people work with an astrologer who actually has these sources. So I use for my clients the same sources for the gemstones that I wear on my hands and on my neck. And I got those gemstones from different sources in different countries that I've spent acquiring over the years. So for sapphires, the most important sapphires come from Ceylon, Sri Lanka. You're really not supposed to wear a sapphire unless it's from Sri Lanka. If you wear like an African sapphire, it's way less favorable than a Sri Lankan sapphire. And emeralds are supposed to come from Colombia. And diamonds, they come from Africa. There's lots of different the Kṣaṇāti also for Rahu, they come from Sri Lanka. The cat's eye chrysoberyl, which is for Ketu, that's also come from Sri Lanka. So it's important to get the gems sourced from there where the mines are, where the mines naturally are, but that they're also tested, because there's lots of fraudulent stuff going on out there.
So would you recommend, so Venus Ketu's coming up, right?
Yeah.
What do I do? Not wear anything for sure? Let's stay away?
See, the thing about the ascendant or the lugna, like you were mentioning in earlier, it's given a lot of power in Jyotish. And so traditionally an inauspicious energy, when it's found in your lugna, can become much more auspicious, not to mention many considered Ketu exalted in Scorpio. We're not necessarily wanting to make K2 stronger because it's pretty darn strong.
Mm-hmm.
But what we want to do is cause more of an auspicious or beneficial effect from influence from K2 and less of the negative influence from K2. Like negative influence from K2 can leave us scattered. It can leave us confused. It can leave us uncertain. It can leave us feeling like we have no idea what the future has in store. It can feel, so we want to, so here's the thing. When I'm working with malefic gemstones and stuff like that, you have to be careful. So for my clients, as I said, the gemstone, when the malefic energy, it's attracted to the ring, and then if it touches the finger, it's filtered out and then transferred back into your energy. So for you, if I was doing a specific recommendation, I really like the idea for you having a K2 ring and a K2 gemstone. However, in the making of the ring, I would have a barrier put on it so that it does not touch your skin. This way, the gemstone's energy is filtered in the gemstone, but you don't need the excess of K2 energy. You just need you just need the negative, inauspicious effect of K2 reduced.
Right. Okay.
So it would be like that kind of. It would be a cat's eye chrysoberyl in a Panchadhatu 5 metal setting.
Got it. So you order this for your clients. So you actually do gem therapy readings. This is what you do, and you will order the gemstones.
At the end of the Jyotish reading, I always have a gemstone or two, which I recommend for the clients. And I always say if they need assistance finding the right gemstone, I have some sources for them that will provide them the best quality.
Got it. And just curious, because I've heard that real gemstones, well, you get what you pay for, and that's just my opinion and everything. So real gemstones, like the good ones, are extremely expensive.
Yes. Yes, that's an excellent point. So that's why there are tertiary, in the ancient text, there are secondary and tertiary gemstones for each planet, because they realized that not everyone was of the highest caste in India, and that people of the servant caste, they also deserve to have gem therapy. Us untouchables deserve to have gem therapy too.
Okay.
So, as much as I would like this pinky ring for my Aunt Makarika Mercury to be an emerald from Colombia, that would probably cost me about $15,000. So I went and spent $300 on a top quality green tourmaline, which is said to be the secondary gem for Mercury. And then you have a tertiary, an even cheaper gem for Mercury, which is called beryl, which is usually only $5 to $10 per carat. So you for each planet, you got the rich man's gem, you got the working man's gem, and you got the poor man's gem.
Well, at least you could get a gemstone. But then what happens if it's flawed, like you said? You know, then you bring more negative stuff to your life if you buy the cheap one. Oh.
Exactly. Better to have the poor man's gemstone flawless than the rich man's gemstone flawed.
Got it. Now, do you know about crystals and stuff too? Not to like throw a loop, because I'm just getting some questions ready for you for after too, because people are asking some good questions. So,
okay, awesome.
Like Moldavite, what is?
Yeah, Moldavite is one of the tertiary gemstones for Rahu.
I bet that guy has Rahu strong in his chart. It's funny because like I notice all this happens. Like people that it's just so funny.
This is a nice Rahu pendant that I used to wear all the time. I have strong enough Rahu similarly to you. This well, except yours is K2, but like really strong on my, like, cause this shines through and everything. And it would really empower the Rahu vibration for me, which is really great for partying and everything, but I'm just like not.
Yeah, you're settled down now. I know, right? You don't need that. And what about, somebody asked this earlier, and is there a better gemstone for Venus, or is there another gemstone for Venus, like an alternative?
Yeah, so the rich woman's gemstone for Venus is the diamond, and then the working man's gemstone is called the white sapphire. White sapphire or clear sapphire runs about $100 to $300 per carat. Versus diamond, which is much more expensive than that. And then actually the poor man's gemstone for Venus is the clear or white topaz. Clear or white topaz, which is very affordable. But again, the best thing would be to have a flawless diamond, but those are extremely powerful. So for example, Heidi, you know, you have the debilitated Venus. You wouldn't necessarily want to have a diamond and just invite all of this intense energy into your life, but maybe you would want to work with a white topaz.
Okay.
Maybe you would want to work with one of the more subtle vibrations of that energy. For example, I'm in Saturn Mahadasha. I'm an Aquarius Lugna, so I would love to have a blue sapphire. Again, I don't have $15,000 to spend on a really nice one. So I have amethyst. Okay, amethyst is the secondary gem for Saturn. So it allows me to work on Saturn in a more subtle and less expensive way.
I love that. That's so funny. And
Yeah.
just warning everybody, it is starting to storm here. So if we have any like technical difficulties, is the weather pretty bad where you're at too? We had tornado warnings and we have another one today.
It's been raining a little bit, but it's not too bad here.
Good. So just if we get disconnected, we'll restart. But
okay.
My power's been going out. That's why I asked you about if I could get electrocuted, because it's just crazy right now. I just feel, I don't usually feel transits and energy as much because I'm always so busy, but I'm really busy right now. And I feel the transits because everybody else is like acting a certain way. And it's and I don't ever take people's energy in, but right now I think because everything is like retrograde.
Yeah.
You know? And
exactly.
Mars, I know this is totally off topic, but when Mars goes retrograde, you know, I feel like it settles it down so that I'm more aware of things, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah, it does, because when a retrograde vibration, it takes an external vibration of that energy, and Mars is very external, and it brings it more internal, which allows you to have awareness of it, which allows you to process it, to have more of a perspective on it. And I definitely think with your K2 and the Lugna, you're feeling that K2 Mars conjunction really heavy right now.
And speaking of that, with K2 Mars, what are your thoughts on wearing the red coral? Because that's what somebody bought me one of my exes back in the day that was, you know, into astrology. And I never wore it.
When I think about the red coral for you, first we look at your ruling planet of your Lugna, and then Mars is in the Lugna in its own sign. So again, we're looking at someone who's clearly Pitta dominant, with a lot of Pitta energy, a lot of Pitta emotions, a lot of Pitta. No, I do not recommend I do not recommend red coral for you. If you did wear red coral, it would need that barrier thing that we were talking about on it, because basically the red coral is actually one of the most Pitta aggravating gems. So you have to be very careful when I very rarely recommend that for Pitta dominant people because it's not necessarily good for your health. I have a red coral gold ring right here, and I was in a Mars dasha, Mars subdasha, and I wore it, and it helped me get really busy during that time. But I also got exhausted. I also got depleted. I also got irritated, frustrated, and annoyed. And I actually just stopped wearing this ring because it was just pissing me off.
Yeah. Well, and you know what's funny? He bought me that ring. This is the one I went to Miami with. It's like you said earlier in the astrocartography. It's like moving to Florida. You're going to be like a little anxiety. You're going to be irritable. But you'll get things done. That's exactly how it was. And when I wore that ring, because I felt bad, like I should have worn that ring, you know, because he gave it to me. And I'm telling you, I think we started fighting right after that. Like, because he was a Scorpio moon. So it was just like tense.
Yeah, that sounds intense. And it sounds like that was probably something he wanted from you, but you know, that it might not have been too good for your physical body.
I wasn't good for either one of us.
So another interesting gem therapy thing we talk about is the activation of houses. So when people have certain challenges in certain houses, or they have certain benefits in certain houses, then you empower those houses and you get an extreme auspicious effect. So the perfect example I want to use for your chart is your 10th house. Okay, you have the sun in Leo in Purva Falguni Nakshatra, and that means that the sun is in its natural sign. And you also have so it's in a very strong energy, which supports your career. When the sun is in the 10th house in Leo, it shows prominence in the career. It shows being seen on the big stage by many other people. So there's certainly this positive energy in your career, which if you were to activate that house or not, you would be successful in your career. However, let's say at any point things slow down for the readings. If you were to wear a gemstone which activated your 2nd house, if you were to wear a gemstone which would activate your 10th house, it would bring you a lot more prominence. So this is where we get with different mixing and matching of gemstones, because when you're looking in houses, you're looking at certain planets which are going to be relating to each other. And so that's the other thing with the gemstone therapy is when you're wearing multiple gemstones, you have to be careful about if those gemstones get along with each other. And if they're getting along with each other, do we want to empower that vibration? So right here I have a pendant. It's a 3 gemstone pendant, and it's for the activation of my 10th house. Here we have a red coral, which is the ruler of my 10th house, Scorpio. Then I also have the sun in the 10th house and then the Mercury in the 10th house. So this is actually an emerald that I had to spend a ton of money on. And this is also actually a ruby, which I had to spend a ton of money on because I really wanted to empower and activate my 10th house. So, you know, whenever I'm a kapha guy, which means I move slowly. Sometimes I can get tired. Sometimes I can be lazy. And so whenever I'm feeling that way, I just put on this this pendant and I feel active and I want to work. And then people are contacting me for readings. And then I feel like I'm active and I'm doing all this technology work because Mercury's connected to the internet and it's empowering my communication. And then at night, when I'm done working, I take it off and I get immediately tired. It's almost like and that's why you wear gemstones over time too. The more energy, you're not supposed to take gemstones off when you wear them because then the energy isn't attracted to it as anymore. So it's like an accumulative factor. Every time you take off a gemstone, then the accumulation stops. Then the accumulative effect stops. So when I don't want to think about working, I take this off, but I always keep it on when I want to work. And I sleep with all my finger gemstones.
Oh my gosh, I'm claustrophobic. I would go nuts. So I used to take my wedding ring off every night, every time I took a shower. So think about that. Every time I just took it off and yeah.
But that makes me feel intuitively that diamond was a little too powerful energetically and maybe not supportive for your chart at that time.
Yeah, it was big.
Yeah.
So somebody asked a great question and said, does it matter what metal it's on? Like if it's gold or if it's silver or...
That's a fantastic question. There are actually metals associated with each planet. And there is a little room for subjective interpretation based on the chart if there's a mixing of planetary energies. But for Saturn, for Venus, for Mercury, and for Moon, Saturn, Venus, Mercury, Moon are all silver. Mm-hmm. Saturn, Venus, Mercury, Moon are all silver. And then Jupiter and Mars are gold. And Saturn can also be used as iron. Iron is the metal for Saturn. And for Sun, it's actually copper. For Sun, but copper is not that beautiful. So I usually, when someone's buying a ruby, I don't have them set it in copper. So I'll usually do like a little copper gold fusion thing to get a little bit of that copper energy in there. But ruby looks so much better in gold. But yeah, and then with Rahu and Ketu, it says in the ancient text to wrap it in as many metals as possible. You're trying to get as much support as possible. So with Rahu and Ketu, you always want to use gold, silver, copper, iron, tin, and if possible, lead. Although we don't usually recommend lead because it's poisonous. Lead is the metal for Rahu.
Oh, that's funny. That's really not funny, but it's interesting because I can just imagine.
Yeah, I asked a jeweler to make a Rahu gem for me in lead, and he's like, no.
No, thanks. I don't want to get sued later. Oh, that's good. All right. So that's interesting. So, all right. We talked, you said Mars, we did the Mars, so the coral, right? And the Saturn is blue sapphire, Venus is diamond.
Yeah. Yeah. So just, I'll do the rich man, working man, and poor version of each of the gems. So for Mars, we got red coral. Then we also have carnelian as the secondary gem for that. That's very affordable. Then for Venus, we have the diamond, white sapphire, and the white topaz. Then for Jupiter, we have yellow sapphire as the primary gemstone. I got a yellow sapphire right here. So yellow sapphire is the primary gemstone for Jupiter. Then the secondary gemstone for Jupiter is the citrine. The citrine gemstone, the tertiary third. You can also use yellow topaz for Jupiter, but again, mostly yellow sapphire and citrine to be the most auspicious for Jupiter. When we're looking at Saturn, blue sapphire and amethyst. Blue sapphire and amethyst. When we are looking at Mercury, we're looking at emerald, green tourmaline, and the beryl. Moon, when we're looking at Moon, pearl. Pearl is the #1 gemstone. Why is pearl the gemstone for the moon? Because the moon rules the tides of the ocean and pearls come from the ocean. So pearls are very auspicious for the moon. Women wear pearl necklaces. Moon represents feminine energy. So we have this very feminine aspect with the pearl. Secondary gemstone for the moon, the traditional moonstone. Moonstone, great gemstone for the moon. For the sun, main gemstone is ruby. And the secondary gemstone is called rhodolite. And also red garnet. Red garnet can be an inexpensive gemstone for the sun. But usually with the sun, the way the sun likes perfection, you really want to go with the ruby on the sun. Let's see. For Rahu, the primary gemstone is called hessonite, which is also called grossular. But the secondary gemstones for hessonite include moldavite and also the black tourmaline. And for K2, the primary gemstone is the cat's eye chrysoberyl with the secondary gemstone of tiger's eye.
Tiger's eye, right. I have one of those.
Yeah, it'd be a good mala. It'd be a good prayer bead for you,
Yeah.
Heidi.
I actually had one in my car, my old car that I just traded in, and I think that's why it lasted so long.
Yeah.
That sounds lame, but it's true.
No,
Yeah,
definitely.
not just I've never been one into like gemstones or crystals, and it's interesting because I just always feel sometimes that K2 and Rahu work in reverse. So I'm always like a little cautious, So when somebody says to wear gemstones and do this with crystals, I'm kind of like, whoa, I don't know about that, because I notice everything with K2 is reversed. Like if somebody says that's a good idea, it's probably not a good idea. If somebody says it's a horrible idea, it might be a really good idea. And that's with Rahu, I think, too. And somebody sent somebody, and like, I don't think anybody can put any spells on me. I just think maybe they can, who knows. But somebody sent
not with an exalted K2, you're not getting.
No, you're not going to touch. That's how I feel. Yeah.
If anything, you're the spellcaster.
Exactly. And I'm sitting, so I get these gemstones, open them up. I have them all over my house. The YouTube channel shut down next day. It was like, boom, 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 like all these things. I'm like, what the heck? And I really think it could have been because of that. Not really, because I don't think there's any, it's just like more energy. Sometimes I feel like for me can be a negative thing.
Again, based on a traditional Vedic perspective, if any of those gemstones had any flaws,
right,
and they weren't perfect, then they were going to have some side effect from you. If you ever were going to do like a cat's eye gemstone, you would want an absolutely flawless cat's eye from Sri Lanka. And you'd probably be careful about it touching the skin as well. I wouldn't recommend that.
Wow, that's interesting. So then you do the houses. So let's talk about, and you said the houses. So do you go with like the transits, like how somebody's transit are? Do you look at the dasha more so? Do you look at the rulership? Or what is the most important?
I definitely look at the transit when we're looking at long-term transits with the planets that transit longer, like Saturn return and Sati Sati. So when you're looking at those Saturn return, Saturn transits, wearing amethyst gemstone is a very affordable, nice way to work with Saturn in a positive, healing way during that period. But the Mahadasha period is a really good time to work with the gemstone of that planet. Usually, if your Mahadasha Lord is in favorable dignity, which it isn't in your case, but if it was, then it would be very auspicious for you to wear that gemstone. So you're looking at empowering that time of your life. Now, again, there are some that would say that actually wearing any planet's gem during your Mahadasha of that planet helps you to achieve the rewards of that planet. It just might take you through hell to get there. But ultimately, that by wearing the gemstone, it does help you work with that planet in a deeper way.
I will say though, I mean, because I look at the rewards of me getting divorced was doing this, because I never would have done this if I would have stayed, you know, I mean, I knew I had to leave, and it just is what it is. And it was a short marriage. So everything was so fast, and I just said, I got to get out of this. And I knew immediately, like I got married in Venus Rahu with K2 or Rahu was in the 8th house. I forget which one. One of them was in the 8th house. Like you would have saw it and you would have been like, yep, exactly. So, and it's just so interesting to me, because I do feel that, you know, all this stuff and everything, like it is so, when you go back and look at your chart and the transits and everything, it is so spot on with the gemstones, with the transits, with everything. I mean, it's amazing. It never fails. It never fails.
Yeah, and the combination with the Venus energy in your chart combined with the strong K2 energy, it does emphasize that, you know, at some point there was, you know, even though you would experience the marriage, you would experience the relationship, the K2 represents that we have a higher calling, usually some type of mystical, spiritual, dharmic higher calling. And with the Venus karma in your chart, in contrast with the K2, it's like you can't let any type of person get in the way of that higher calling. That's just not you. In other words, so in a way, the ending of that relationship was like a catalyst that helped support the higher calling, that helped bring you to that, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's so true. Oh my God. And, you know, and if I really like that video you did on Saptarishi's astrology about K2, and you went through all the houses and how you said to support K2, like wear ragged jeans, donate stuff, you know, during those times. And I think it's like having the nodes in your 1st and 7th house, or like a prominent house. I mean, it's important in every house. I think 1st and 7th, 6th and 12th. I mean, you know, 2nd and 8th, there's some heavy energy there. That's 4th and 10th. That's like, they're all, you know, but I notice when I do readings that it's just so, I don't even like to predict transits for people when they're going through those dashas, because yeah, K2 got me to this, but oh my God, it threw me through the ringer.
I think you're totally on point with the predictive hesitancy. One of the nicest things my clients ever said to me about my reading is that they really appreciate how I keep the reading open with lots of possibilities of how things can turn out, with how things can manifest. Because when we're looking at the chart, when we're looking at the karma, every conjunction in every house has many different potentials, has many different significations, and it's our intuition as an astrologer that shows us which potential is being activated over another. But we're human beings, and some days our intuition is stronger than others. And so I think even when we have the strongest intuition about how something might turn out, we should be open that there are other possibilities and potentials of how this thing can manifest as well. Because, you know, even though there's these potentials and possibilities, we still have an individual responsibility, you know, to make all the right choices, decisions, and thoughts and everything.
So do you kind of believe that? I mean, because I know some astrologers are like, no, you know, your chart's your chart. There's no busting through this karma, changing things. Just curious, you know, that whole thing, like, is it changeable? Can you change your destiny or whatever? Do you believe that?
There are 3 different types of karma, and one of those karmas is fixed karma. And there are certain signs which are fixed karma. But even in the traditional ancient Jyotish text, with the help of a Sat guru, we can even move past our fixed karma. We can even move past the karma, which is the most fixed karma in our chart. So, and actually, I've had so much experience of people that have these more movable karmas in their chart, and movable and dual signs and things like that. They have this movable karma, and there's this chance that they are supposed to die, like they get cancer or something like that. But really, it's like an opportunity for healing that causes them to change their whole entire life. Maybe they get attracted to Ayurveda or some form of alternative healing to like cure their cancer and everything. And then they live to 110 years old. Well, I've also seen another potential where they had the same potential for healing if they were ever to make the right choice or decision about it, but they never made the right choice or decision about it, and they die from the cancer at the young age. So as far as life expectancy, unless it's like a super fixed karma, and that does exist in the Jyotish chart, but there's just but that can be worked through with the Satguru. And there's just as much karmas in the chart which are movable, which are changeable, that if we are willing to devote now the movable karma, the movable karma means as long as we just try a little bit to improve it, it will get better. Then there's the dual karma, which means we have to try really hard with everything that we got in order to make it better. And then there's the fixed karma, which means we can't make it better on our own. We need the assistance of someone greater than us to do that. But no matter what, these, I don't believe there's just one finite destiny or one finite path. I believe there's all this different karma, and we have all of this individual influence on it on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of health, what would you say? Like, I know it's chart dependent, right? So, you know, say certain triggers were certain people's health. Are there certain gemstones that are going to, obviously, you said negatively affect? Is there gemstones that can help with the vitality or help? Do you believe that, or do you kind of feel like that's?
I definitely believe in that. I've actually seen some result of the helping of the curing of diseases with the use of gemstone therapy. Now, when we're looking at diseases from a Jyotish standpoint, there are three types of diseases. There's acute disease, you know, like getting the cold, getting overheated, you know, the things that we experience on a daily basis, you know, these acute changes in our health. Then there's chronic disease. And the chronic disease relates to the disease which might eventually kill us. And then there's also prolonged illness, which not all of us have, but some people have prolonged disease or prolonged illnesses, incurable and things like that. You know, herpes is a good example.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, when we're doing the Ayurvedic or the medicinal gem therapy, you're looking at the energies in those houses. So the sixth house is the first three stages of disease, or is acute disease. So for you, we have Mars, or Aries is in there, which is ruled by the planet Mars. So we're looking at where do you normally go out of a little bit of balance? Pitta. Pitta is the major influence. There's going to be frustration, irritation, heat, these more intense things and this could cause issues with the skin. It can cause issues with the blood. It can cause issues with the liver. But again, we're looking at the first three stages of disease. So from an Ayurvedic perspective, no permanent changes to the body, just how you get aggravated. So if that's Mars is the influence that, then you want Pitta pacifying gems. One of the greatest Pitta pacifying, Mars pacifying gems is actually the white coral, because coral is good for Mars, but the red is heating, but the white coral is Pitta pacifying. It's very cooling. So for you, white coral is much more beneficial than the red coral when looking at how you get imbalanced on a daily basis. And then also the white corals for the moon, so it would help with the mind as well.
Would it make it more like outer spacey where can't focus, or do you think it would help like ground it? I don't need anything to make me.
It would give more stability and groundedness, more emotional I guess you could say it would create more of like a stoic energy, and once you would be more reserved emotionally, more contained.
Yeah, so, and I can say that I have never had any health issues. Like nosebleeds is the only thing. And
Yeah.
here's K2, okay? Have had nosebleeds my entire life as a kid. And it just comes out of nowhere with the heat and stuff. And I get them when I go to out west. When I was in Vegas, my sister said it. She was like, "Are you on coke?" And I was like, "Julie, I've never done that in my entire life. No, absolutely not." Or I don't, that's the last thing I need. And she swore that I was like on coke because of this. And it's just my note. It just go dry.
That's just K2 Mars. But
That's what I said. That's what I said.
the thing is, there's no planets in your 6th or 8th house, which is always supposed to be good for the longevity and the overall health of the individual. Not to mention that the ruler of your 6th house is in its own sign, and that the ruler of your 8th house is in its in a positive position in the 10th house. Now, the only issues with your health might result from the 12th house Saturn-Pluto vibration. This is actually shows more like old age is the thing that, you know, so the aging process can be difficult for those with Saturn.
It's, yeah, I'm going to not be happy about it either. I don't want to.
And let's see. But you looks like you could live a very long life. I know that you said that you probably think you're going to die young, but actually Saturn in the 12th house can give a long life. Because Saturn is Kṣaṇāti, the slow mover, and the 12th house is a house of moksha. So it means that you leaving this body, it's a slow process.
God, I know. I don't know what I was thinking about signing up for. I mean, but see, because I don't want to live a lot, like only the good die young, you know, type of thing. I don't want to live forever. I mean, because I don't want kids. I don't want, you know, I feel like my time on here, it's like boom, and I want it to be done. And I'm not saying that like, you know, in a negative way where I'm like,
No.
rest, you know, it's like just I've accepted it. Now I know we go to a better place. Life gets better. We're here in like prison to a certain degree. And look, Saturn, 12th house, prison.
Yeah, I just had this intuition of when your Rahu Mahadasha starts. I think you'll probably be like in your 60s or 70s, and you're going to be like, oh my God, I'm still alive.
Oh, I know. I'm going to be, I don't know.
I have this, like, all this unfinished work to do.
Oh my God, what will I do? Oh, can't even imagine.
I think you might be doing some traveling.
I better. I might just move to India and become like, and just go stay in an ashram.
Exactly. Because after your Sun Mahadasha, you're definitely going to be getting like a lot of recognition and stuff. So.
But then Moon Dasha should be good, right?
Oh, totally. In the 5th house. And actually, that supports romantic energy for you really strong.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. All right. Well, we're going to take some questions from the chat, and they can just be like anything. We don't need to necessarily talk about gemstones. We could talk about anything you want to ask the astrology guru here. He's here. So any questions, you can see the chat too, right? You can pick whatever you want to ask.
Let me see. When I hit chat, nothing's coming up. Hold on. Let me try again. It says all panelists, Q&A. For some reason, I'm not getting the chat here.
Can you go to the YouTube page and to the channel? That's where
Yeah.
That's what I'm looking at.
Okay, cool.
Can you go to the YouTube page? Oh God, I hate hearing my voice.
The YouTube page?
Yeah, and then
okay, I got it right here.
You see all those? Nice. See all those questions? Yeah.
I think so. Should I hit play or?
Yeah, you can. But just to put us on mute. What is the best stone for male vitality?
I think so. Should I hit play or?
Yeah, you can. But just to put us on.
I'm hearing myself.
You could just don't have to hit play. Just watch the chat. You should still be able to watch the chat. Can you still?
Okay. Yeah, I can see it now.
Okay, good.
Okay, great. So should we start at the top or?
Oh no, just start where. Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay.
You start it. I'll try to scroll up. But hold on. What did he wrote? What is the best stone for male vitality?
The best stone for male vitality. So that's a great question. and you have to take a look at the masculine planets in your chart. In other words, there's no prescription just for male vitality, because we have to look how the masculine planets in your chart are operating. So when we're looking at the masculine planets in your chart, I look at Mars, I look at Sun, and I look at Jupiter. And whichever of those planets are in the most highest dignity, which is the best sign and the best house, that's probably the planet that you want to empower the most, to empower the most favorable aspect of your masculinity. Let's say that you had a debilitated sun, then you might actually be empowering some of the lesser qualities of a man. So you really want to make sure that the masculine planet is in a good position before you start empowering it.
Yeah. So Melanie, well, hold on. What do you think of the destiny point? Does your destiny unfold according to the point? What destiny? So the lines on your palms correlate with your chart. Do you know anything about palm reading?
Oh, definitely. Vedic palmistry is something that I have studied briefly, like just in a little bit of detail, because Dr. Lott is so into it. And actually, the ancient Jyotisha, they can look at your palm and then write down the birth chart. So they can actually, the ancient gurus, the rishis, they can. So each hand, each finger here represents a different planet. That's why you wear the different gemstones of that planet on the different fingers. This is another point which is definitely worth discussing, because just like if a gemstone is flawed, wearing a gemstone on the wrong finger can cause the most negative effect.
Oh my gosh.
I have a perfect example just to share. I had a Kṣaṇāti made, a really nice one from Sri Lanka, like $750 made. And it was, I made it for the middle finger, because the middle finger, see, the Rahu and Ketu is the center of the palm. Again, that's really interesting for those of you who are interested in the palmistry. The Rahu and Ketu is the center of the palm. So if you look at the center of my palm, there's a huge X. There's a huge X in the center of my palm. And so that can kind of show the Rahu and the Lagna, Rahu in the first house energy. And
Wait, is that in your right palm or your left palm?
Right palm.
I have the same thing, a straight up X in my palm.
Yeah, because you have K2 in the Lagna.
Oh my God, that's crazy. Look, hold on.
Yep.
It's like right here.
I can totally see it.
X marks the spot. Like, yeah. Oh my God, that's so weird. And you know, my left lifeline, I sent this to Victor Carl once. I don't know, even remember why. I watched some video with him many years ago. And I was like, hey, if I send you my palm, because I was worried I was going to die, because it's so short. My lifeline is so short. And then he said, well, your other lifeline is like crazy long and engraved.
The left hand or the non-dominant hand, because it depends if you're left or right-handed, but the non-dominant hand shows your past lifetimes, and your right hand or your dominant hand shows this lifetime.
Wow.
So actually, there can be changes to the palmistry in the right hand over the course of the lifetime based on our. So back to the destiny questions, like we change our palm. I remember one time when I was, experimenting with a little bit of psychedelic things in college, and I started feeling this huge, intense feeling in the center of my palm. And the next day I noticed that I had a little mark there, and it's still there to this day.
Wow.
So just like we have this destiny, which is set for us at the moment of our birth, we are also a big influencer. We're a player in that destiny. There's fate and free will. They coexist with each other, is how I feel.
What about plant stones for migraines, and what finger planet would you wear it on? But would you need to see the chart, or would you?
Yeah, migraines can there are different types of migraines in Ayurveda. There's Vata, more cold, dry type migraines, and then there's more Pitta migraines, the irritated, annoyed little sharp little intense little thing. And then there's the dull, my whole head is achy, that's the Kapha migraine. So there's all three different types of migraines. So we definitely would have to look at the individual chart. But before I forget, the pinky finger is for Mercury. always. The ring finger is for Sun, Mars, and Venus. The central finger is for Rahu and Ketu, and the index finger is for Jupiter. Oh, and also the pearl moon is for the pinky as well.
Wow. Can you wear the gemstones on a necklace and it be the same, or does it have to be rings?
So it can definitely be worn on the necklace for the same positive, powerful energy. And actually, if it's someone's ascendant, or it's in someone's 7th house or the 4th house or the 10th house, because it's on the north, south, east, west axis, which runs on the Sushumna channel, you know, the central channel of the body, I usually will recommend the pendant. So I especially recommend necklace for the 1st house, 4th house, 7th house, and the 10th house. But rings are just as important, and pendants work in a very strong way. And pendants are a little bit nicer because you can put more gemstones on them. So you can really mix and match some of the different energies that you want to activate. With a pendant, where if you have 2 or 3 gemstones on your finger, it just looks kind of bulky and feels weird.
Yeah. That's amazing. You know, it's amazing how complex that just gemstone wearing is. And like, just like Indian astrology, Vedic astrology, it's just so complex. Everything about it. People just think, oh, you're your sun sign. And this is just one great example to know, like, just don't go out and buy a blue sapphire and think it's your birthstone. Woohoo. It's like, that's the curse. Like, it's almost like, okay, here comes my conspiracy theorist mind. Okay. Just like how they twist astrology and make it Western. This is why I don't believe I've never felt like it was the right way, because I feel like the Westerns tweak it. They want to control us, and that's just how it goes. So they're not going to tell us the right information. So, like, oh yeah, follow your sun sign. Okay, follow your sun sign. What if it's like that will make somebody weak if their sun's weak, and they tell you to wear this gemstone that's not your real gemstone. Here comes my conspiracy theorist mind. But it's true. Like, you could be damaging a child, getting them their sapphire earrings or their sapphire necklace when you have this little baby. Boom.
Exactly. I was just reminded of when I got the Rahu gemstone for my middle finger, but it didn't fit my middle finger. I got the size off a little bit, and I put it on my ring finger. And literally within 5 minutes of putting it on my ring finger, it was just such a Rahu experience. I get a call from Australia from this number. I pick it up. He's like, hey, I need your help. I hear that you can help people. I'm like, yeah, I do. Jyotish, how can I assist you? He's like, I have 15 children, but I need a wife. I'm like, that's not the kind of work that I do. He's like, well, how about the astrology reading? And I was like, well, I charge, so-and-so for the astrology reading. He's like, why don't you pay me some money? I don't have any money. It was just the most confusing, foreign, strange, negative type of Rahu interaction. I immediately was like, I cannot wear this gemstone anymore.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and the ring finger affects your career. The ring finger affects your work. So I don't think I wanted to invite any negative Rahu influence into my work, which is already, people just talking smack and stuff like that.
Yeah. Rahu in the first, it's tough for, you get the fame, but it's not like, you get the fame, you get the success, you get all this stuff, but it's like explosions. It's stuff that really, and just like Scorpio, but I feel like you would get, like, oh my God, what's this? When I'm sitting over here like fuming when somebody just inconveniently like texts me and just, doesn't understand my instructions on my readings. It's like, you just wasted all my time and blah, 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 and I get so frustrated. And then they go out and tweet it all over the place. And then I have to go fight it like in a battle, and it's so like our charts.
Yeah. Too. It is. We're the only, it's like we want to make sure that everyone is getting the message. So, but some people just try to create conflict for no reason at all. And so I think the K2 person uses that to transform themselves and transform others. And the Rahu person just kind of ignores it.
Yeah, that's so true. K2 is so much more like, I think K2 is so much more confusing to have, I just, even the Rahu people that I know, all the charts that I read with Rahu, all my friends that are Rahu, and, they're just so much more okay. They're just like flying by the seat of their pants. They're happy. They're just going with the breeze, you know, hitting, dodging bullets, you know, or making things happen. But then they get bored, you know, so that's what happens. It's like you're doing things. But K2 person is more like investigate it, psychologically analyze it, you know, think you have people like chasing you, think you have stalkers, think you have like everybody's out to get you. It's so much because he can't see.
Yeah, but it is also that there is that same challenging effect of K2 provides a certain unique type of intelligence for the K2 Lugna people. Like some of the K2 Lugna people are the sharpest intellectual, and your sun, Mercury and Sun are together in a very prominent place, which supports your intelligence as well. And it's just like both K2 and Rahu Lugna people, they are very intelligent, but the intelligence of the K2 person is a lot sharper than the intelligence of the Rahu person. The intelligence of the Rahu person, it's kind of like all, you know, it's kind of like out there, like kind of vibey and like esoteric and stuff like that.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah. And speaking of Vic Dakar, I don't know why he keeps coming up so many times, but he said Rahu's like I hate to bring politics into it, but isn't a little more liberal when K2's more of like the Republican.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's just interesting because all the now it's different if you have like K2 in Libra. It's, you know, it depends on what sign it's in. It depends on everything. So it really is, because somebody asked here, what do you have? I saw this question earlier. What if you have Rahu in the Nakshatra of Mula, which is a K2-driven sign. So how does that work? Or just like if you had, I get this a lot. It's really hard for me to do readings for these type of people. Is when Rahu's in Scorpio.
Oh, it's debilitated.
Yeah, and then K2's in Taurus, like in Rohini or Kritika.
That's straight up debilitation. And as much as I have compassion for those energies, so you know, when you have an exalted nodal energy like you have in your chart, there's a very strong communion with the nodes. But when you have the debilitation, like with Rahu in Scorpio or K2 in Taurus, then you're getting a possession. What you call is it's a form of a spiritual possession. So because Rahu in the Vedas has its own ahankar, its own individual ego. And K2 in its own way has its own ahankar, its own individual ego, and that matches with our own frequency and our own vibration. But if you have a debilitated K2 or Rahu, there's no control over that possession. So these people can have violent outbursts a lot because they're often getting possessed by those energies in ways that they don't really have any control over. So again, it's irritating to have to work with. They're difficult, but again, ultimately, there's nothing greater that we could have more compassion for that, you know, because that's really difficult.
Yes, it is really hard. Yeah. And when I think K2, because K2 can be materialistic. I mean, it wants it, but it doesn't really want it. It like wants it to have it for the security, but doesn't really care about it. You know, when it's weird. It's a weird, but like this. So when it goes into Taurus, it's a mess. That's what I know. It's like it's just confused.
It makes me think about the idea how we think that money brings us happiness, right. But the only way to find out that money doesn't actually bring us happiness is to be filthy rich. In other words, a lot of the people that find out that money isn't true happiness are actually people who have achieved great amounts of money and success, and they realized that didn't actually give them happiness. They needed something more spiritual, something deeper, like family or God, to have a deeper meaning of life. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the part of that K2 vibration, which is like, you know, you are going to experience that like material thing, like the desire for it, so you cannot be attached to it. In other words, to realize that you don't need money for your true, in other words, to realize that there's something more important than the material world.
Yes.
First, you have to have the material world first. Money is not important unless you don't have any of it. then it's the most important thing. You don't have food, you don't have shelter, then money's pretty important, you know? But for everyone who has money, all the money in the world, there's money has less, it doesn't need to be important because you're not worried about your shelter, your food, and all of those basic needs.
I just got chills too when you said that. I know. I mean, we are lucky, you know, when you look at the overall population. Every time I'm feeling a little like, why, you know, oh, I want this or I want that or I'm going to get this, I like turn and watch some documentary or watch something in Syria and have a reality check. Like, you better do something else with that money. You better do something else immediately. And I'll like just give money to somebody or whatever. But that's another problem that I have. I'm too nice. Okay. And then that put me in a mess too. Yeah. I just gave everybody, I paid for everybody. When I had money, I thought I was extremely successful at 22, making way over 6 figures and hustling, selling homes. And I had everything and I was miserable. So I can say that, you know, now I will always make that. Like, there's no, you know, once you set that bar, you're like, so that's why I like slave away all these jobs, doing all this stuff. But it's also like, when I didn't have it and I went through all this crazy debt with my ex-husband and the marriage and all that stuff, oh my God, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I just thought I was going to end up being there, you know, and I was protected. It's like, but every time I thought about, the more you think about money, the more it messes your chart. I feel like a chart like mine, or maybe not.
Any, especially K2, especially with the strong K2, the more you focus on money, because K2 is that force in the universe which wants us to be in aligned with our highest spiritual frequency, with our highest potential for moksha. So what's the opposite of that? Money.
Yeah. Right.
You know? So whenever we put something which is not really our highest calling, our highest truth, like money, ahead of something which is like you doing readings, which is helping people understand their karma and work through it. When you're just thinking about money over that, it's like, that's so distant from your purpose here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like for me too, even I can resonate if I'm thinking about money, I feel totally disconnected from my purpose here. But once I'm in the moment of doing the reading and doing the service and everything, I feel totally connected to my purpose here.
And that's why I refuse to raise prices on my readings, because I have spent so much money on astrology readings. Half my debt was from probably astrology readings. I spent thousands, and I'm like, when you go get a reading, it's like, you're not in the best financial place usually. You know, it's not like, so for me, that's why I work it's so crazy, because I feel horrible charging, but I have to live a certain lifestyle. You know what I mean? And sorry, I feel like I'm having a psychology session, but it's true. You know, it's a hard balance.
It really is. And the thing about it from a karmic perspective is, you know, we want to do things for free. We want to do things for a low rate, especially with this spiritual type of work. And I find that really inspiring. But also at the same time, if you do some type of spiritual service for someone else, and that's not like a reciprocated relationship where you're getting something equal in return, then that creates karmic debt that person owes you. If you're not charging enough, then actually they owe you energetically, and then you have to work that out either in the rest of this lifetime or in the next lifetime. So one thing to just consider from one astrologer to another is, if you feel like you're really charging the amount that you could deserve, then you're not going to be owed anything after the reading from that person, because you're getting everything that you deserve. When if there's any question if you're getting more, they might be creating some karmic debt.
Oh God, that's all I need, huh? Yeah. Well, that's interesting. And maybe it's like karmic debt. Do you believe there's karmic debt in this life? Where maybe I'm making myself completely like a slave, where I don't have a life. I haven't been out in years.
Definitely. That makes perfect sense. And basically the karmic debt, if we don't work on it, it just carries over to the next lifetime. So, you know, you'll be just as busy in the next lifetime too, and the one after that, hypothetically speaking.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. So what else do we see here? Overly complicated, he said. How much time? Do you have to get going soon?
I think I have to go in about 10 minutes or
Okay.
so. Just have to
All right.
grab it.
We'll take one. All right. You know what? In general, why don't we do this? What is your best recommendation for everybody? Because everybody talks about this whole K2 Mars conjunction. Welcome to Heidi, I say. Welcome to Heidi world. Like this is story of Heidi's life. But do you see, and I mean, I hear all these astrologers talk about they're like terrorism, this. I've had astrology readings from random people like in India that told me I was gonna like be a terrorist, asked me if I was a terrorist, die because of my Mars K2. I'm not joking. That is not even a joke.
I'm laughing because I can see that.
Oh God. So how do you suggest that? Because obviously it's probably not going to bother me as much as it's going to bother somebody that has, a moon Venus conjunction, right?
If you think about it, you're kind of like a terrorist for consciousness, or
Yeah.
you're like a terrorist for truth, and otherwise, like you're radically trying to bring truth to this world, and you're not going to let anyone get in the way of that. Like by blocking your live channel or anything. In other words, you got to get that message out there that there is a radical nature to that, even though it's not terrorist. You're not creating terror, but it is radical. It's radically intense.
And I do call out a lot of the sketchy stuff that goes on behind the scenes. So that's why this all happened. So it's true. But how do you suggest that everybody deals with this energy like this summer? Because this is an intense summer. Saturn retrograde, Jupiter retrograde, Mars K2 conjunction, Mars retrograde. What do you foresee? I know this is a really big question, but
So when K2 and Mars are conjunction, it's a really, first of all, they're two of the most pitta planets. So it's going to be one of the hottest summers. As far as a predictive aspect, we're talking about heat stroke. We're talking about sunburns. We're talking about you better watch how hot it's going to be, because it's going to be really, really hot on a hot summer's day. You have to be careful about hydration. You have to be careful. So K2 and Mars are also the planets of surgeries and accidents. So we're all accident prone. We're all vulnerable to these accidents right now. And it's usually when you're not paying attention. The K2 is blind in the sense of it's a tail with no head. And when we can't see with our head, we can't see with our eyes, which means we're using our intuition. And K2 has this really strong intuition, partially, Heidi, why you feel fear of thunder, fear of certain things like that, because it's an intuitive protective mechanism. It's also an irrational fear, and it's hard to know the fine line between a protective mechanism and an irrational fear.
yeah.
But the K2 Mars conjunction is going to activate that really strong for all of us right now. So with K2 and Mars, it represents accidents when we are rushing. Okay, when we are doing things too quickly, when we are moving through things and not taking our time. So it shows a heavy time for car accidents if we're speeding. It shows a strong chance that we're going to miss something in terms of what we need to do if we're trying to rush to get something done.
Yeah, that's true.
It's also a time there's no better time for you to get as much done as possible. You just want to not rush through things, there's a vulnerability here towards accidents, towards rushing through things. And it's just kind of this overall suggestion, which is like, slow down. The summertime is about enjoying nature. It's also very close. It's also very beneficial with these energies to be close to the water, because K2 fire and Mars is fire. So you want to be close to the water. So this summer, everyone go to their local beaches. Everyone go to get in the ocean, go swimming, stay hydrated.
Let me give some advice, just because I'm a K2 Mars, and I thought one time I had parasites. Stay out of the too hot of water, because K2 Mars can be parasites.
It does.
It can be. I had such a fear. I didn't have parasites. It was anxiety, and that's what the doctor said. She was like, I knew every parasite: lung flukes, hookworm. My friend's cat, like I diagnosed the parasite the cat had. I'm not even joking. This is like crazy, but That's another thing K2 Mars can do, make you obsessed with certain things, don't you think?
Oh, sure.
Or you
Sure,
just think you have this, or you get on.
K2 Mars is what we same with the Rahu moon or Rahu Mars. They call it the hypochondriac.
Yeah.
Which,
Yep.
which basically though is a protective mechanism again, and K2 represents our past lifetime karma.
Mm-hmm.
So this, what you're dealing with potentially is what is called a samskara, or a karmic impression left on your past lifetime. You're afraid of thunder, you were shocked by thunder in your past lifetime. You're afraid of water, you died by drowning in the past lifetime. So, these are inherent fears that we carry with us, from one lifetime to the other. On one side of it, it's irrational, because why to be scared of something that there's a 0.001% chance of us happening? But from a karmic perspective, we know as spiritual beings here that the chances are higher than those scientific percentages. So yeah, it's a balance there. But the overall energy during this K2 Mars, which is really consistent through the entire summer, is to really stay cool, stay calm, stay collected. Avoid excessive amounts of heat. Enjoy a pitta pacifying, a cooling diet, and avoid rushing through anything, because there's this vulnerability to accidents and things like that.
Do you think Mars K2 could be a tsunami?
Definitely. And actually, when the day Mars and K2 went into conjunction, there was a volcanic eruption in Hawaii.
Right.
And so tsunami, volcanic eruption, earthquake, hurricane, all sorts of these more rainstorms, electric storms. Electric storms are really big with Mars K2. That's why you're afraid of them. So there's all of these indication of natural disasters during this period as well.
So it's going to be a rough summer, hands down. Go to the water, but get a life vest. Get a boat. Get a boat and a life vest. Yeah.
Because of all of the anger that's brought up when Rahu is Mars, I'm worried about some local terrorism.
Yeah, true. Very true. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on Channel 27 again. We love talking to you. I know this was completely kind of casual, but the gemstone is definitely, it's awesome to learn about. So I'm going to post all your websites in the chat, and I'm going to pin the comments so people can get readings. I saw a lot of comments in here that people said they're getting readings from you. So I'm gonna pin it in the comments. So it'll be the first comment at the bottom of the screen. I'm gonna go post this on my other channel. It's gonna be there too, and it's gonna be in the description box. So
thank you so much, Heidi, and I'm really looking forward to doing more of these sessions. Like, it feels like we just get in a really sweet vibe, and we're just we'll start on one topic, but we'll just totally follow it into this vibration, which is what are we dealing with right now? How can we support the community? And I really enjoy this time. So thank you so much.
Always fun. Thank you.